Welcome to Cosmic Wishes, where we turn wishes into cosmic wishes by adding science. Today's special guest is Scott Friedman. Hi, welcome to Cosmic Wishes, where we turn your wish into a cosmic wish by applying science. And today I'm just so excited. I am introducing you to Scott Friedman. I've been on Scott's podcast a couple of times, and we've gotten into really, really deep, fun, out there conversations as we usually do. And so now I get to invite Scott on my show, and then we can talk about Scott's wishes for himself, for the world, for whoever and however he wants to wish. And then we're going to apply science to his wishes. So I'm going to let Scott explain who he is and tell everybody what your vibe is and what you want them to know.
That's great. Well, listen, I'm excited to be on your show, and it's always great to spend time with you. So my deal is that I'm all about trying to make spiritual principles practical, and the genesis of it really was when I was 16 years old. My mom took me to the Healing Light Center Church in Glendale, California, and that day we were learning how to feel auras, and I went like, "Oh, I can do this," and I was so excited about that because as having trouble with ups and downs was always a problem for me, and spirituality seemed to answer my need more than anything else. And so I kept going and going and going in that. And as I stumbled across meditation over 40 years ago, one of the things that I realized is that I really wanted to make everything out of my life that I could. And I didn't know what that meant, but I knew that I had potential. I didn't know the specifics of that potential or what that potential was or what I was supposed to do with it, but I knew I had potential and I knew I wanted to discover what that was, and I wanted to be able to uh, accept and embrace and experience as much of that as I could. And that kind of led, and that in combination with meditation, or as a result of meditation, has resulted in me getting all kinds of wisdom. I've written like 13 books. I'm working on a 14th, and it's just uplifting. But the main thing for me is that in these truths that I resonate deeply with, that I get in meditation, when I act on those thoughts that are uplifting, then it uplifts me. It uplifts the people I'm around. It's good for everybody. And uh, the thing that I'm really inspired to do, and I believe that the value of achieving any goal is the growth that's required of it. And I was really inspired, I was like, well, I want to experience being one with all things. And what does that look like as a reflection in the world? And that looks to me like win-win thinking being the dominant thinking in the world. Not the only thinking in the world, because I want to have contrast, right? And choice and all that, right? But that is the dominant thinking in the world, so that when it's kind of a more physical world representation and behavior of being one with all things. And the concept is, if we're one with all things, then whatever we do to anybody, we do to ourselves, because we're just one, right? And you can find that in religious literature, spiritual literature, scientific literature,
Well,
anywhere.
that's what we're going to do. We're going to play with science
Yeah.
on
So
this, as you
so
know.
anyway, so that's my thing is that I'm always meditating on how can I experience more of being one with all things, and with the measurement of how fully I'm accepting that being what progress I've made in advancing win-win thinking in the world.
Okay, so
That's my
now
basic
let's
stuff.
word that as a wish. So I
Right.
wish. How can you phrase
Oh
that
yeah,
as a wish?
I wish that win-win thinking were the dominant thinking in the world, as opposed to zero sum.
Okay, okay, that sounds good. So fans of the show will know, but what I do is I'm going to draw from one of hundreds, literally hundreds of what I call science cards. So we're going to draw a science. We're going to take your wish. We're going to draw a science card, and we're going to apply that science to your wish. And then when we're finished with that, we've got also a few hundred. I go kind of crazy with these things, but of activity cards, and we're going to apply that activity to your wish. So it's all random. I don't know what card I'm going to draw, but we'll figure it out, and then we'll just go with it, and we'll play
Sounds
with it.
great. Sounds great.
Okay. So I drew a card, and on the top it's psychology, cognitive science, and what I call the three P's. And just for the listeners who might not know what the three P's are, wishes should be peaceful, positive, and purposeful. So that's one of the principles of the art and science of wishing, the book I wrote, which, shameless plug. Um, and so that's what we're going to do. So that's in the category. And this particular one is about ACT, values versus goals. Okay, so this is where we're looking at this.
Okay.
Okay, Stephen Hayes' acceptance and commitment therapy makes a crucial distinction. Goals can be completed, but values are ongoing decisions and directions. Honesty, courage, generosity. ACT research shows you can be anxious and proud of how you're believed and how you behaved simultaneously. Sorry, so this is all kind of new to me. Like I said, I'm not memorizing these. That combination, I'm just going to say, ACT research shows you can be anxious and proud of how you behaved simultaneously. That combination, difficult emotion plus value congruent action, is what builds deep, sustainable happiness. You can feel the fear and still be right on track.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how that fits with what you're talking about being one, and that everyone sees themselves as part of the one, right? I'm going to butcher your wish, so you're going to have to help
No,
me
you're
on.
good. You're good.
And that we can start feeling like when we're acting, we're benefiting everyone, not just ourselves, right? Is that a did I say it okay, or you want
Yeah, no,
to
you're
reword it?
right on the money.
So this is kind of interesting because it's a little this particular view is that it's acknowledging that there is sometimes the conflict with that, right? Is that how you read it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just that it's part of being in process, right? So there's times where I say, I have parts of me that say, you're being completely unrealistic. You're never gonna achieve that. That's beyond, what you can do. You don't have whatever it is that it takes to do that and stuff. And so there's that, doubting negative part. But what I do is I say, well, a couple things. One, um, uh, when I left the secure corporate job to sort of pursue this kind of thing,
Yeah.
more than 40 years ago, I told my dad, who was a depression baby, who was very upset about me leaving stable employment, that I would rather fail at trying to make my life everything I thought it could be. That would be easier to take than not trying. And so when I think about I think about that thought a lot, and so I say, well, I may fail at making win-win thinking, the dominant thinking in the world, but I'd never forgive myself if I didn't put everything I had into it.
There you go.
And
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 what's
so
interesting about this particular card is it's talking about, of course, acceptance and commitment, right?
right,
Which is is a big part of what the card's talking about in this particular acceptance and commitment, therapy is what's called this particular scientific practice. And is also saying that it is goals can be completed, but values are ongoing. So I think that's really beautiful, tied into what you're talking about, right? Is your values are um, about everyone, and about the fact that this is a value that you think is important, and that that the goals will just keep kind of popping up and driving you, but the values are forever.
exactly,
Does that
exactly.
kind of make sense?
Yeah, and it's also a source of pride, right? Because the goals exist in the dualistic world, and even though we're all one, it's like, well, yeah, but it's dependent upon my ability to communicate with people, and I'm not quite there yet to where, I see everybody as one. I'm still, more than I would like, seeing, I'm me and you're you, right? In the differentiated world and so on. And so it's there's there's doubt, there's learning, there's progress, but the one thing to your point that I fall back on is that I'm so proud of myself for having the courage to believe in myself enough to put everything I have into what I'm inspired to do.
That's really beautiful.
You
Yeah.
know, and then they're like little breakthroughs, right? Like I was at a political meeting and there was this lady and she's more than likely going to be elected to the House of Representatives, and she's all about bringing people together and creating and stuff. And I said I want to work with you on that, and it's like wow, it's like somebody that has a history of getting people to come together for the mutual benefit. And I'm going like, this is awesome. I created this person in my life and she's going to be my representative in Congress, and I already had a conversation with her and she's already leaning that way. And so it was like, that's already further than I thought I might ever get, right?
That's right. And that's where I think that's where like because that you could have set a goal saying I'm going to meet someone in this role that's going to help me, or you just could have this ongoing value that you're living and that's going to draw people to you that's maybe separate from goals. Because one of the things that is an important part of cosmic wishing is that there's a difference between a wish, a prayer, and a goal. And, a goal is something you set a plan, you make it happen. It's usually in your control. So you could have said, I'm going to find someone that meets my values, that's in that role. Or you can just or you can have a prayer saying, it's out of my control. Please bring this to me. But the beautiful thing about a wish is, and I think you were using it, even though you might not have used the term wish, but is you were kind of allowing for both, right? And you were in this place, and that's one thing that's nice about this psychology cognitive science kind of aspect of it, is when you're open to both. So you can have goals, and then you can have some stuff that you relinquish control, and then within the wishing you can just be this value, and then that's going to draw to you the kind of people. And if I have a wish that goes along with what you just said, would be that we find leaders that understand this power of collective wishing, and that we can get people to start looking for the same kind of wishes together. And then, because that, collective wishing rituals have been a key driver of survival since the dawn of humanity. I mean,
Oh yeah.
we just aren't, we're missing that. We're not wishing together like we did. I mean, the last big time was really, Martin Luther King, I have a dream, right? And then that was like, that's a collective wish. We all of a sudden all of a sudden saw this beautiful vision.
Well, anybody that had a microphone, but there were still people that were not. It was not politically correct, but there were still people that didn't really sign on to Martin Luther King's point of view on things.
Well, I'm not saying everybody, right? No,
Yeah.
but it was a beautiful positive
Oh
vision.
yeah,
Get
absolutely,
people, hundreds of thousands of people at that one event, right?
absolutely.
And still give a group a collective vision towards something positive in the future. And I'm just saying, there's a lot of people with microphones, but they're not necessarily peaceful, positive, and purposeful visions that we can all kind of see together. So yeah, there's still contrast, right? And there's still conflict, and there's still challenges, and some of them are worse now than they were then, without going down too far that road. But so anyway, what did you think about your science? You like that?
Well, I love it. I mean, I love it because it kind of. I mean, I've always thought that, I mean, acceptance is healing, right? And so anything that brings more definition to the way things are right now is liberating, right? Because I mean, that's one of the things that I really subscribe to, and probably maybe half of my podcasts, posit the idea that the most efficient way forward is to have a more detailed and robust acceptance of what's true right now, or where I'm at right now, and so I've kind of got, one foot in each camp a little bit, and I'm trying to, but I'm enjoying the process, and I love the idea of that I created the dualistic world that I live in, and that I at any point I can opt out and just go into rest in being for as long as I want to, and then I can come back but it's but I think that I love the idea of using language that everybody can relate to and identify with.
Yeah. So how about an activity? We ready?
Far away.
Okay, I just randomly drew a card. So now this one is also under, because I also list the science with cognitive science, psychology, neuroscience, and storytelling. So this would be fun. This is kind of interesting because it could be kind of a mind-blowing one. Your wish as a movie trailer. Like you go to the movies and you see the previews, but they're actually called trailers.
Yeah.
So this would be create a 30-second movie trailer of your wish coming true. What's the opening shot, the dramatic moment, the triumphant ending, Storytelling activates your whole brain. So let's do it. Like, come to the theater now showing. What would that look like as a trailer?
It would, I mean, if you want to have the climax, it would be, two people that had been on, um, polarized and opposite objectives, we'll say, and just it that living life that way had just become so painful and so awful that they got together and they said and found out that they had so much more in common that they had differences, and that all of a sudden the fact that they'd been Hatfields and McCoys for generations just didn't make any sense at all.
That's beautiful. So yeah, you could have this booming voice. Will this person and this person ever be able to see eye to eye? What's it going to take for them to unite and sit on the same side of the table looking in the same direction instead of in combative moment? Watch this great movie and see what's going to happen as these people find a way to have common ground and be able to see the world in a unified vision. I don't know, I'm making up something.
No,
my,
I mean
my
you're right on the money.
screenwriting background, right? I'm
Yeah,
I'm a
no, that's
storyteller.
exactly, you got it exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you think? So that's the activity. Was that fun? Did that
Yeah, I mean it was nice to have your help, but
I will always jump in. Just no, you had the vision. I just made it, the big booming voice kind of thing.
yeah. No, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, well, good. Well, I mean, that's kind of what this show's about is this. And then for anybody listening, think about your own wish, right? And think about what we talked about as far as the science and being able to see the different perspectives, like whatever their wish is. Are there multiple ways to look at it? Is there a difference between the values and your goals and your wish? And how do they conflict? How do they, combine? How do they complement? And then also, like anybody out there and anybody's listening, tell us what you think your movie trailer would be for your wish. We'd love to see it. We want to hear people think about that, and let's have fun with this because that's a big aspect of it. Is the more fun it is, the more we're going to do something, and the more we're going to be
Absolutely.
bought into our wish. And so I know that's always true when I've been on your show before, and whenever we get a chance to talk, we always have fun. And we get into deep stuff, and we also make it fun and light and not take it too seriously. So anyway, thank you so much. Anything else you want to say, or anything you want to add to tell our listeners, your
Um,
listeners?
not other than the fact that, there are a lot of great people out there sharing a lot of really great and wonderful stuff. And what I always try to tell everybody is that go in the direction, trust yourself, and go in the direction that you're most inspired. So, I mean, when I was coaching somebody who was had a health problem, and they were didn't know which modality to go to, and there were like so many, and I said, well, just pick the one that you resonate the most with, and she did that and got better. So I would just tell people to um, engage with people that you resonate with, that you feel lifted up with, and engage in those with those people, and that it might be a whole bunch of people that one person can inspire you in one way in one area, and one person can inspire you in a different way, equally important in another area. So, but ultimately, listen to and trust yourself in choosing who you engage with and the directions you take.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much. And again, thanks for joining me on the show. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. And keep an eye out for Brownell's TEDx talk coming soon. The Art and Science of Wishing, now available. And as a special thank you for watching to the end, please visit brownelllandrum.com/bonus for a free gift. May your cosmic wishes light the sky.